Good morning. Hope I'm audible and the PPT is visible. Can somebody please respond in the chat box? Okay, so today we start with project management. Just a summary to begin with. Project management is equal to people plus customer expectations plus resource management. So project comprises of all these things. One is what customers expect, who are the people involved, and what resources do you utilize. Now, unless you do this effectively, it is impossible to carry out a project properly. You tend to make losses in the project. You tend to make n number of mistakes in your project. Right? Okay. Now, projects are non-routine. Thus, there is an element of uncertainty. Because project, as per the definition we saw in the last two sessions, project is something which you don't do routinely. What you do routinely, you call it what do you call process or whatever it is. Project is something done once in a while, and it is a planned set of activities to complete a particular task. Finished with that, which is not done periodically. In addition, managing software projects involve dealing with complexity, uncertain or changing requirements. For any system for that matter, as the complexity increases, developing a project also becomes more difficult. And there might be a lot of uncertainties involved. Everything cannot be defined and understood. There are so many things in a project which you learn over a period of time, especially in an environment like IT. If you're talking about project related to civil or architectural aspects. People sit across the table, draw a plan, fix everything, and there are some standard procedures. And once that is finalized upon, changes are not permitted. You don't change it. But in IT, the problem is things keep changing. Sometimes you will have to change just because technology is forcing you to change. Just to understand the concept, I can give you a small example. That is, see, while you were building your house, say 40, 50 years back, mosaic was the flooring commonly preferred. Before that, it was just normal floor, black or red, what you call. That was more than enough and that was quite good. Then came mosaic tiles, which was slightly expensive. And in those days, so-called premium because you have to lay the tiles and grind it away and then polish it and then give it a finishing mirror finish, etc., etc. So the whole process is very. Now you made a house which with what you call mosaic flooring, and imagine 1 or 1.5 years down the line came marble flooring. What you call. Is it important for you to change, that is, demolish your or replace your existing flooring of mosaic with marbles? Not necessary. But the moment we think of building a house after that, will consider this type of flooring also. What does he look at? Affordability. The marble flooring more expensive, much more than mosaic tiles. So you think twice or 4 times whether you want to create a liability by increasing the cost of the house or mosaic is enough for you. If you have enough fund, you don't think twice, you just go for marble. A person with limited resources will always evaluate various possibilities. Remember that. In project also, whenever a person has got limited resources, he will think about possibilities. That is where evaluation is needed. When you have everything in surplus, many times what happens is, though you waste a lot of resources, you don't think how effectively and efficiently you can implement it or buying a mobile phone. If you have, say, 1-2 lakhs at your disposal, you will definitely go for the iPhone, not looking at whether you actually require an iPhone or not. But a person with limited resources who cannot think about an iPhone will start thinking, or maybe he has got just the bare funds to buy an iPhone, will start thinking, do I need an iPhone? What are the advantages of an iPhone? Of course, one is the camera. And then what do I use phones for primarily? Initially, I might try out all the features, after which I'm going to, end of the day, I'm going to use it for browsing web, accessing online resources, doing some net banking, WhatsApp, Facebook, Insta, make calls, photographs. For this, do I need an iPhone? That is the next question. I think about this only when I have limited resources, I repeat. When I have surplus funds, I don't think about it. When I have limited resources, I think about it. Same with building a house also. When you have limited resources, what do you think is the maximum features with minimum cost? Plus or not, that's a different story. You always try to reduce the cost of implementing. So first you justify whether you need that project. Then you look at the value addition that you get from the project. Then you look at the cost of the project. Then you look at the risks involved in the project. And then finally you decide whether to go ahead with the project or not. In civil architectural areas, it is okay. You go for one thing, you stay with that till the probably end of life of your house, maybe 40 years, 50 years, 40 years, 30 years. You're happy with that house. But when you demolish that house and rebuild a new house, you're not going to put mosaic there. You are going to look at what is available currently and you go for that. But look at technology that way. Sometimes you need to upgrade your phone just because your phone doesn't support. When Wi-Fi with 5G came into the market, most of these public shareable networks used 5G routers. In those days, majority of the people's laptops, mobiles, etc., never supported 5G. So that is the time when you are forced to go for a change. Now that is the difference between normal engineering and technology. You are forced to change just because that is the need of the hour. You cannot survive the market without going for the change. Whether you like it or not, whether you feel it is necessary or not. An i3 fifth generation would be sufficient for your work. But you're forced to buy an i3 13th generation or 15th generation or an i5. Expecting your requirements to grow slightly, you go for an i5 with 8 GB RAM at least, though 4 GB is sufficient. But if you're going for Windows 11, etc., a decent performance, I would say you require at least 8 GB RAM, preferably 16 GB RAM. Now you are forced to do that. So you'll have to sideline your laptop or your PC that you're currently having, even though that is fully functional, working perfectly, just because technology doesn't permit you to use that any further. So that is the challenge in technology projects and non-technological projects. So keep that also in mind. So projects are non-routine, thus there is an element of uncertainty. In addition, managing software projects involve dealing with complexity, uncertain or changing requirements. The role of a project manager is well defined, and he or she is responsible for the success of the project management team, stakeholders, and resources. Professional software development involves adoption of formal software engineering models. Now, project evaluation, business case, cost benefit analysis, return on investment. These are the three aspects that you must look into before taking off with a project. Now, if you look at the business case, first is feasibility study. To justify a business case, somebody comes with a project to you. The first thing that you must look at is the feasibility. One is provide a justification for starting the project. Why do you need it? Justify? This is the first question normally asked. Or your project report should start with presenting enough information about the necessity of going for a project. Should show that the benefits of the project will exceed development, implementation, and operational costs. So to show that the benefits of the project will exceed the development, implementation, and operational cost. That means the money you are going to spend on the project will be less than the value you get out of implementing the project. That means the benefit rate out of the projects are going to be always outweighing the primary benefits of the needs to take account of business risks. Needs to take account of business risk. What are the risks that are involved? During the implementation of going forward with the project, what are the risks that can happen? Sometimes the government policy may change in such a manner that this project might be rendered useless. You don't need it further. I remember the normal taxing people were just getting their systems ready, software was being developed, etc., for normal billing, etc. And suddenly the government came off with GST, which was a completely different concept. So anybody who was on the verge of getting that software developed and implemented is going to face the risk of his software already becoming obsolete because the government had changed the policy, which is a huge risk. So all the money they shelled out for the software suddenly becomes useless. And then they have to again shell out money to go for understanding incorporated into the main system. So does your software provide that? So sometimes you'll have to rework on the whole project itself completely. I'm just giving you an example. No, people are going for solar. Generator usage will slowly come down. People used to use generators at home, also small generators. But now you'll see with the coming of solar, you don't need generators in place, at least at homes. Of course, office requirements are different, but even there, the usage of generators will drastically come down. Now, project evaluation. How do you evaluate a project? One is cost benefit analysis. There's some problem with the net. Net. The range issue. Okay, so we look at the business case part of it. We saw feasibility, project evaluation. One is cost benefit analysis. How much cost is going to get incurred on that, and what is the value addition you're getting? That is from the benefit. In cash flow forecasting, you should be able to forecast the flow of cash, which will make your project feasible. Then the decision tree. Then comes project management and benefits management. Now, typical business case. Contents of a business case document. What all should it contain? One is introduction, background, the proposed project, the market, organizational and operational infrastructure, the benefits, outline implementation plan, costs, the financial case, risks, and management plan. These are the contents of a business case document. So many aspects have to be covered there. Now, project portfolio, the program, or something which gives you a clear idea about what the project is all about. Three elements of project portfolio management is one is the project portfolio definition, then project portfolio optimization. From definition point of view, create a central record of all the projects within the organization. Must decide whether to have all projects in the repository or say only ICT projects. Now depends on who you are, what you're doing, and what are you involved in. If you look at the complete project team of the organization, then you need to consider all the projects that are happening in the organization. But if you are related only with IT infrastructure related product, then ICT projects are more than enough. No difference between new product development and renewable products. That is developing something completely new out of the box, and then renewal of existing projects also. This very, you have to have a clear idea about the difference between these two, developing something new and then renewing what was already existing. Sometimes developing something new is much easier than reworking on a project part which is already there. Then product portfolio management, actual costing and performance of project can be recorded, then optimization. Information gathered above can be used to achieve better balance of projects. Example, some that are risky but potentially very valuable, balanced by less risky but less valuable projects. So there you can actually optimize. That is, the above can be used to achieve better balance of projects. Example, some that are risky but potentially very valuable, balanced by less risky but less valuable projects. Cost benefit analysis. This relates to an individual project. You need to identify all the cost, which would be development cost, setup cost, operational cost. It's not only the development cost. There is a lot of direct and indirect expenses involved in a project development phase. Identify the value of benefits. Check benefits are greater than cost. Net profit calculation. Year 0 represents all the costs before system is in operation. Cash flow is value of income less outgoing. Net profit, value of all the cash flows for the lifetime of the application. NPV of cash flows. Minus starting year, minus 1 lakh, that means there's only outflow. Then first year 10,000, so this becomes 90,000. Second year again 10,000, that becomes 80,000. Third year again 10,000, that becomes 70,000. Yeah. 20,000 becomes net profit becomes, just out of this 50,000 is already covered here, another 50 from this. So the net profit is here you get reduces to 50,000. Fifth year you get 1 lakh, again minus 50,000, the balances. That means fifth year you actually went into profit. So the objective here is payback should be as early as possible, because the project also gets outdated over a period of time. There is a lifetime there, which you call the end note. So automatically you have to try to recover the cost at the earliest. Now, annual ROI as percentage, if you look at it, average annual profit by total investment into 100. In the previous example, average annual profit by fifth year is 50,000, where you generate the profit in the fifth year, divided by 5, the number of years, so which is 10,000. So return on investment is 10,000 by 1 lakh. Your total investment into 100, which is 10%. That means the return on investment for a period is 10%. Project evaluation is summary. Project or program evaluation is essential before making a proposal to the customer. A project may fail not through poor management, but because it should never have been started itself. Now, many companies, when somebody comes up with a problem, gets on to solve that problem without looking at the fact that or trying to understand that is it actually a problem? Does it need a solution? And is the solution approach that you're taking feasible? Is there a cost justification involved? Can you handle the project change? So many questions need to be answered. So most of the project managers or project teams go ahead in implementing solutions without understanding the project itself or the problems. And then they start the project, which actually never should have been done. So that is one primary reason why projects fail. That means they're doing something which should not have been done at all. The project may make profit, but it may be possible to do something else that makes it even more profitable. That means you try to solve a problem, which would have given you more profitability. I don't know whether my net is getting cut in between or not. I think signal fell. If there is something, please someone respond in the chat box. Okay. Now a project may make profit, but it may be possible to do something else that makes it even more profitable. The real problem is that it is often not possible to express benefits in accurate financial terms. Now, when you evaluate a project, everything cannot be put across in accurate financial terms. So what do you do? Say, for example, you did a project and the person is feeling very good about it. How can you evaluate it? The person is actually completely happy about the solution, and he's getting complete benefit out of that project, and so on and so forth. Maybe when you evaluate in financial terms, you might find that the project is not very feasible. But if you look at the total benefit that the customer is experiencing, it might take up for the 10 or 20% loss that you financially calculate. So that is a challenge many times. So you must look at the benefit from the customer's point of view also, the person's point, the user's point of view, say not customer, user's point of view also. So those kind of things cannot be accurately. How do you quantify it? It's very difficult. Feelings cannot be quantified. Then project that with the highest potential returns are often most risky. Always remember that the more risk you take in life, the better benefits you reap out of it. So more complex problems you try to solve and get answers for that will definitely reflect on the risk factor. The more complex problems you try to solve, the more risky it looks or it is. Benefits and risk assessment. Okay. Now, benefits and risk assessment, program view, non-financial benefits, risks, decision analysis, etc. Now, program portfolio, coordinated set of projects, a group of projects that are managed in a coordinated way to gain benefits that would not be possible were the projects to be managed independently. In most cases, software comes in an area where you develop so many things simultaneously, sometimes even multiple projects simultaneously, and then integrate them. Because if you start doing it individually, one after the other, it is going to be more expensive on the long run. This time is one of the most important resources in software development. And target dates are very, very important. Because, every organization is functioning with an IT infrastructure as a backbone. It cannot do anything without technology. So when there is a change or when there is a new project coming in related to technology, it has to be implemented at the earliest with the minimum time taken. Because otherwise, either you will be technologically outdated or the data that you want will become irrelevant. So time factor is very, 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 very important. So that means you should be able to divide your project into independently functional units, and each unit should be capable of running on its own within a specific time frame. Now, typical programs could be strategic, business cycle programs, infrastructure programs, research and development programs, innovative partnership. Now, a project should never be seen in isolation. That's also the moment. Don't think that a project is something separate. If you start working on a project, it should be done separately and it is to be carried out separately. No, it's not like that. Program manager, many simultaneous projects. Program manager will have many simultaneous projects. Personal interrelationship with skilled resources, optimization of resource use. Projects tends to be seen as similar. Right? So many simultaneous projects, the program manager will be responsible for many simultaneous projects. Personal personal relationship with skilled resources. He should be able to manage that. Optimization of resource use, maximum utilization of the resources he has, not overloading it also. So you must understand the balance and put load accordingly. Then projects tend to be seen as similar. Right? Then project manager, one project at a time, impersonal relationship with resources, minimization of demand for resources. The projects tends to be seen as unique. Program planning. Program plan roles, vision, feasibility, and execution plan. Initial planning document is the program mandate describing the new services and capabilities that the program should deliver. How an organization will be improved, fit with the existing organizational goals. Right? So initial planning document is a program mandate describing when you're starting working on a program which has got multiple projects, the new services capabilities that the program should deliver should be clearly listed there. How an organization can be improved using this particular new project or program, whatever it is, then fit with existing organizational goals. Right? Now, a program director appointed as a champion for the scheme. He will be responsible for everything, overlooking everything. Then you have a program brief, equivalent of a feasibility study, emphasis given to the cost and the benefits of it. Then the vision statement explains the new capability that the organization will have. The blueprint explains the change to be made to obtain the new capability. Then benefits management at program level. What capability and benefits are you adding to the organization with this program? Providing an organization with a capability does not guarantee that this will provide benefit envisaged. Need for benefits management. This has to be outside the project, done at program level. So providing an organization with benefits at the program level, if you look at it, what capacity and benefits are you adding to the organization with this program? That should be very clear. Providing an organization with capability does not guarantee that this will provide benefits envisaged. Needs for benefit management. Just by implementing a project doesn't actually mean that you're going to get results or you're going to see results. This has to be outside the project done at the program level. Now, what all are the various stages and the relevance? One is you've got the developers who built the application. Then you have users who use the application. Then the application to deliver benefits for the organization. Right now, if you look at it here, if you look at the developers, they are the people who actually build the application. So they should have a clear idea about what the application intends to do. Now, what is the importance of the users here? Users use the application. Now, look at it from the system perspective. If the user does not understand how to use the application, your application or program or the project is going to fail. It's not only enough that you build a good solution. You should convince the user, get him into confidence, make him use the system as you expect it to be used. Now, if you look at a vehicle, they say this is the mileage, but they say under these conditions. So when you give the whole vehicle to a user, you must also make him aware about the conditions under which he will get optimum mileage. That's why today's vehicles and all, I mean, on the digital screens, they show you economy, not so economical, driving speeds. At what speed, if you go, your fuel efficiency will increase, kind of information. So they keep the user updated about all this. See, they bombard him with data so that he can actually monitor and understand what is happening. Now, these kind of things were there in aeroplanes long back, but now small things are coming down to vehicles also. With two-wheelers today, I've got cars. Many cars have these facilities earlier. Today, even your two-wheelers have started showing these kind of parameters. Ultimately, they will help you to use the vehicle in a better manner. That is the objective. So that contributes to the efficiency of your project. Right? Okay. So if everything is done properly, it definitely will deliver benefits for the organization. Now, risk assessment or estimation, what you call. The project A might appear to give a better return than B, but could be riskier also. Draw a project risk matrix for each project to assess risks. For riskier projects, we could use higher discount rates. Now see, the risk client rejects proposed look and feel of the site. Okay. Net issue is still pertaining, I think. Signals are very weak. Okay. So if you look at the risks that can be quantified, now understand that client rejects proposed look and feel of the site. Important very high likelihood the development process. Chances of he rejecting something outright is because he's involved and he'll keep guiding you throughout the various stages to make sure that the final product delivered is going to be perfect. That competitors undercut prices. This always used to happen, now comparatively less. There were situations where you used to go and charge 1 lakh and your competitor was going to charge 50,000. The reason is in those days, people were just getting exposed to technology. They did not know how much to charge, how to charge, what are the calculation parameters, etc., etc. So they just gave more importance to getting the work, right? So when one person charges 1 lakh, the other person just to get the order, sometimes even not knowing that he's going to make a loss on the project, will charge 50,000. So what happens is, end of the day, he is not able to deliver. The customer will lose trust in the whole process. And then the next time you go there, it'll be difficult for you to convince those people also. So that creates a problem. Then warehouse unable to deal with increased demand. Importance is medium, likelihood is low. This the chances of this occurring is very less. If you have done a proper study of your system, you know the requirements of your system, then definitely you will be able to handle the situation, or your system will be able to handle the situation. So there again, importance is kind of medium, not very critical. Then online payment has security problems. Medium, medium. Of course, there are issues, but people are educated now, much more mature enough. But still, you can see that there are issues happening here and there. So that is why we rate both sides medium. The maintenance cost estimated is higher than estimated. Sometimes what happens is maintaining the vehicle, the system, the cost will be more than implementing the system. Importance is low, likelihood is also low. Then response time deter purchases. The response time of people will keep purchases pending because when people are not responding fast about the project, you don't get an idea about whether to go forward or not. So you land up in so many problems. So you slowly think about keeping it pending or putting it forward. Now as a result, what will happen is the cost can go up, escalate. The market cost of the product will increase. So overall implementation cost, etc., manpower cost might increase. Overall implementation cost, that cost, whether it is feasible for you to go ahead with the project, etc. Now, risk benefit analysis, trade off between long term versus short term. A project may fail not through proper management, but it should have never been started. Without understanding what the problem is, what the situation is, you started with the project and then ultimately land up in trouble. A project may make profit, but it may be possible to do something else that makes even more profit. Then a real problem is that it often not possible to express benefits in accurate financial terms. Then project with the highest potential returns are often the most riskiest. That is also there. Just give me a break. Just come back. Okay, so now we go on to project estimation model. How do you estimation is basically necessary because it is based on the estimation that you actually calculate your what you call quotations, and then you compare the quotations with how much estimate you have made on your own, or how much you feel. You should have a rough idea about what will be the cost of the project. Now, why estimation? Here you can see a customer wants to know whether he has the right budget to commit for development, right? So before he starts committing, he should know whether he has got the right what do you call amount of resources to start with the project. Then wants to compare the estimates provided by the various vendors. So that also is another aspect. People need to have some figures which can be compared with other. IT industry's track record of software project execution is very, very poor. According to Standards Group, more than 70% projects fails. That is, they either exceed estimates significantly or are abandoned. So this is one key point, right? See this. That is, they are either they exceed their estimates significant, or why are they abandoned? Primarily because halfway through they find that it is impossible to complete the project with the given resources. So they finally have to abandon it, because otherwise it will add to the loss of the company. One of the main factors contributing to project failures is poor estimation. Most of the time, what happens is they are not able to estimate properly, hence the issue. Now, the underestimation syndrome. That means you charge less than, or you evaluate it lesser than what it actually. Generally, IT professionals are optimistic about their estimates. Overconfidence of their skills. See, people talk about startups and promote it like anything. But do you actually know how many startups survive? Some startups may survive for some time with one project, after which they have no new ideas coming up and they are not able to do anything. And you cannot survive with one single product or product project. So then you land up in trouble. The primary reason which I have understood is we are all techies. Business is a different ball game altogether. And we never try to make a team of management and business, like people with business acumen and technological person. Technical people get together and start off thinking that their knowledge will help them, or their product or their capabilities of developing software will help them to survive the market. That never happens. I can give another similar example is like doctors, good doctors starting hospitals on their own and finally land up in deep trouble because they are good professionals, medical professionals. When you are working in a hospital, when you are working in another hospital, you don't have to look at anything else other than looking at the patients. So your quality reflects to the patients. You don't have any other headache. You don't have to pay loans. You don't have liabilities, right? You don't have to think about what is happening in the pharmacy, what is happening in the lab, what is happening in the theater, how rooms occupancy is affected, right? All these things you need not take care of. You are looking. So you're a good doctor. People come to you. Keeping that in mind, you have a feeling that people will come to you because you're a good doctor. But when you start on your own, there are thousands of other things which you have to look into. That is where you start failing. You don't know how to manage rooms. You don't know how to have effective, what you call occupancy rates, how to maintain occupancy rates. You have invested in lab machinery. Now, what is the return on investment? You'll have to look at that aspect. Pharmacy, which medicines are moving, which medicines are non-moving, which are essential. All these classifications, categorizations, and all you must know. Only then you will be able to run it profitably. Otherwise, what will happen is you will buy a lot of medicine, keep it in stock, half of them won't sell, and then you are going to go into utter loss. then paying salaries on time, making sure that all the equipments, etc., are maintained properly. The staff you have is good, promoting them, motivating them. Just imagine how much of other functional. You won't get time to look at patients. And then again, you're going to suffer because of that. People won't look at you as a good professional then. They are not bothered whether you're running a hospital or you're having some other problem. They are just looking same software developer. The moment you start a business, then there are so many other things which you have to look into rather than coding and developing. And at the beginning stage, you may not be able to employ so many people also. And with the salary you offer, you will not get. So then you'll have to go for a loan or something. Then again, you're in trouble. You have to think about repaying. So this is the result of most of these cases is the result of overconfidence in your capabilities of your skills. They don't work everywhere. Remember that always. Or assessment of technology centricity. You feel that technology can solve all the problems. Never. Today we feel that AI is going to replace us. But you will see there are so many things that have come into this world stating that will replace. The best example I can give you is people said with the coming of credit cards, cash will be replaced. We are still using cash. I would say better was with using things like UPI. Cash has been replaced. We don't carry cash. We rely more on UPI, but credit card never replaced cash. That was a promise they gave to people at some point in time. Right? Then the relying on informal gut feeling estimate. That is, you had done a project, you have an experience in 2, 3 projects. So based on that, your gut feeling tells you that yes, this will go ahead, but not in the sense there could be different issues here altogether. Just because one project ran successfully or was implemented successfully doesn't mean the other will also be in the same lines. Then not learning from past. You don't learn from the past. Full requirements captured. You didn't understand the requirements properly. So everything was based on your underestimating non-coding effort, non-functional requirements such as performance, availability, response time, etc. How do you handle all this? You might be a good coder, you might be able to develop a product, but there are so many other issues which matter, like performance of the system that is actually sometimes related to the hardware part, availability, connectivity issues, etc. Then response and how fast can you respond to a customer? That is very important. Underestimation takes in store work-life balance, more defects, poor productivity, schedule, cost slippage, firefighting, low morale, customer complaints. All these are things which no. Just a minute, I just disconnected. Come back. I'm getting messages. Okay, we were looking at the underestimation syndrome. So overconfidence is one factor. Poor assessment of technology-centric areas, issues, relying in informal gut feel estimates, which is formal methodologies, not learning from the past, poor requirement capture, underestimating non-coding effort, right? Non-functional requirements such as performance, usability, availability, response time, etc. You don't look into it. You look only at the coding part because you are a coder or a techie, right? Then underestimation takes its toll at later stages. The whole team gets stressed. There is no work-life balance, more defects, poor productivity, schedule/cost slippage, firefighting/low morale, customer complaints. All these things result in issues later on in implementing and carrying out the projects. Now, what is the mantra for better estimates, software estimates? Now, one is estimate as you go, agile estimate, what you call them. That means as you proceed in the project, you try to estimate and find out what would be probably the cost involved in the whole project, right? Now, estimation approach, one is top-down, high-level view of the system after requirements capture/architecture, bottom-up, module-wise estimate and roll-up after high-level detailed design, the WBS, detailed work breakdown structure for project planning. The traditional estimation techniques applicable for large, well-defined projects. COCOMO 2, era of large systems in COBOL/Fortran. Then function point FP, object-based screens, reports, etc. So you try to estimate based on your number of screens, number of reports, etc. Function point basically refers to various functionalities that are provided by the software. Based on that, so different projects can use different approaches, right? The use case point based UML/RUP modeled modular systems. So based on what all facilities it provides, you can do that. More practical and wise techniques is one is agile estimation, that is called rolling estimates, and then leveraging organizations' own metrics TV. Now, all these are kind of guidelines. You can choose your own type of methods, or you can even mix and match. There is no issue in that. You can always mix and match and find out which is the best for your organization. So a software project estimation involves art, science, and experience. Of course, experience does count. It is one of the most important factors of project management. The more experience you have, the better estimates and work schedules you will be able to create. Then comes the work breakdown structure. A work breakdown structure is a visual, hierarchical, and deliverable oriented reconstruction of a problem. It is a helpful diagram for project managers because it allows them to break down their project scope and visualize all the tasks required to complete their projects. All the steps of project work are outlined in the work breakdown structure chart, which makes it an essential project planning tool. The final project deliverable, as well as the tasks and work packages associated with it, rest on top of the WBS diagram, and the WBS levels below subdivide the project scope into indicate the task deliverables and work packages that are needed to complete the project from start to finish. So based on what all work happens, what all roles are there, what each person does, there is a breakdown based on that. Looking at here, this diagram will make it more meaningful. Project is divided into analysis, design, coding, testing, deployment, and support. Then in analysis, due diligence, requirement gathering. Then in design, you have architecture, high-level design, low-level design. So depending on the complexity of each one of this, you plan accordingly, costing. Then coding, code and unit testing, right? Then in testing, functional, integration, acceptance, and automation. Then finally, deployment and support. Again, if you look at application design, there is an initiation, planning, execution, and control, and then closure. In each one, again, you've got subdivisions, break it down into develop and business case, assign project execute, come up with project charter. Then in planning, you make a schedule, bring all crucial resources, set budget, analyze potential risks. In execution and control, handle communication, handle procurement, track assigned tasks, perform project tasks, change in project activities, perform UAT. Then closure, document closeout, hand over the project. Now, software size estimation based on what you call so function point estimation based on what all functionalities you provide. You create an estimate based on that. Now, function point estimation, FP estimates are size estimates at early stage, proposal or pre-design, right? Then recommended for commercial large application software systems involving transactions, databases, and reports. So you go for function point because you can assess the workload only based on what is being done, right? Then FP technique adopted for early stage estimation after requirements are captured. Then size is measured in function point units. So how many function point units will give you an idea about the size or the volume of the project. Then size FP is converted to effort, person weeks / months using historical productivity matrix, XXFPs and maybe what you call personal productivity. Then function point method. FPs are based on concept of function data files to be supported by software. Function, 3 types: external input EI, external output EO, and external query. As we proceed, you'll understand it better. Data files, 2 types: internal logical files and external interface files. That means internal logical files are files that are there as a part of your system, and external interface files are those which you refer to for data, which comes from outside. Calculating function point. Assign function point based on their complexity. Assign FPs to each function and each file based on its complexity. Total the FPs unadjusted FP or raw FPs. Multiply the unadjusted FPs by an adjustment factor. The adjustment factor is determined based on 14 characteristics of the system. Now, external inputs, external output, external queries, 3 parameters. Now, internal logical files, external interface files. You have low complexity, medium complexity, and high complexity. The value is multiplied by 3 in the case of low complexity. For the first one, you can see that. I don't have to read it out completely. Now, unadjusted function points, UPF, is equal to the sum of external inputs, function points, external output points, external query function points, internal logical files function point, and external interface file function point. So it's the sum of all these things put together. Now, FP calculation determining complexity. Complexity of a function is based on the number of data elements or file types referenced. Example 1. The function create purchase order. EI updates the field PO, date, description, PO amount, customer ID, customer name. These are the data element types, DET, maintained by the function. Example 2. The report generates sales analysis report, EO. Displays the following fields on the report: product ID, product name, city, month, total quantity sold, total sales revenue, name of salesman. These fields are the DETs of this function. That is data element types of the function. In order to perform this function, it uses three files, namely sales file, product file, and salesman file. These are the file type referenced, right? So this is a small example which is showing you how you calculate function point based on what it does, right? Now again, FP calculation, complexity of DETs and FTR. Determining complexity of EI, that is external, what do you call it? Inputs, external outputs, and external queries, right? Data element type DETs, user recognizable data elements that are maintained as ILFs by the EIs, appear in the EO and EQs, data fields, buttons, search, etc. Then FTR, file type referenced, all ILFS and EIFs, external file interface files, and internal logical files, referenced or maintained during the processing of external inputs, external outputs, and external queries, which are tables, flat files, etc. This gives you an idea about 0 to 1 FTR. If that's got data element types low, 1 to 4. If it is 5 to 15, low. If it is 16 plus, it is called average, and so on. Now, FP calculation, complexity of LIF and EIF. Complexity of files is determined by DET and RET, right? So data element types and record element types. Example, employee files can have the following logical groupings. Basic data for employees such as date, name, date of birth, address, etc. Past employee info such as name of company, then start date, end date, last designation, etc. Then past project info such as name of proposed, name of the project, from date to date, role in project, etc. And in the above example, the DETs, right? The data element types are name, date of birth, address, name of company, from date. We have three types of logical grouping of data, namely basic data group, past employment info group, past project info group. Hence, we have three record element types also. Now, FP calculation, complexity of LIF and EIF. Data element types, DETs, unique user recognizable non-repeating fields or attributes, including foreign key attributes that enter the boundary of the subsystem or application fields. Record element ILF slash EIF. 1 to 90 dB is supposed to be low, 20 to 50 dB is low, 51 plus dB is average. 2 to 5 RET is low, average, high, and so on. This I think will continue further. I shall share the PPT in case you don't it, just inform me.